let's go.
Alrighty. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, I'm David. I am the host of Seeing Red with David Munford. You can find that on pretty much any platform. I was talking to somebody and they found it. Gosh, they found it on one platform I had no idea it was on. So that kind of was interesting to me that it's on different platforms. Um, let's see, kind of update. I am. Let's see, was it two, 3 weeks ago now? I actually got my 7 year chip. I am in recovery for pornography and so many sexual addiction, a lot of sexual addiction issues. But I got my 7 year chip from being clean for 7 years, which is amazing to really think it's been 7 years since I've been clean from that. Now, is every day easy? No, it is not easy. In summertime, for me, is or warm weather is very, very, very hard for me. Just being open and honest about that because less clothes come on are on, and it's for somebody that deals with pornography and deals with sexual addiction. Woof, the thoughts, the triggers. You got to really be on your game. So that's kind of who I am and loving life.
Yeah. Good, good. That is interesting. That's not something I've thought about. And I'm glad you're talking about that. And you've been on the podcast a couple times. The first
Yeah,
time you mostly talked about your struggle with pornography addiction. And then the second time you kind of talked about how you overcame it with Jesus and the church and
right.
everything.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have brought the questions to the people, and they have certain questions that I'm going to be asking you today.
Let's do it. I
Okay.
I I love talking about this because, like we talked before we started recording, it hasn't been really talked about. And if I can change one person or bring it to light to one person, that's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want. At least one person know, hey, I'm real. Hey, yeah, I'm not. I don't have it all together, and
Yeah.
I'm still working on it daily. So
Yeah. And like so grateful that you're talking about this because as I mentioned before, when we first did the first podcast we did together, I had never really knew about pornography addiction. So I think it's cool that you share about this and you're open
yeah,
about it and you're definitely helping people for sure.
yeah, yeah.
All right. First question. How did you know you had a problem?
Man, I th- it's kind of a hard question to ask because I didn't know I had a problem until I got into recovery in, gosh, I think I realized in 2013. Yeah, because it's no 2014. Let me take that back. 2014 when I really started working on it, and I got in with a Celebrate Recovery group, and I started hearing other men talk about their addiction and what pornography was and what sexual addiction was. That's when I realized I was like, oh, okay. Because all my everything that goes back to it, the main root issue was 5 years. For 5 years, I was in a relationship, a dating relationship that I had really had no use being in, and lived with a female, and we were more roommates than really dating. And she didn't really want to have sex, so she said, well, you can look at playboys, you can look at anything you want to. I don't want to be involved with it. So that's what and that's what got me introduced to it. No one I never grew up being growing up in the home or even in school or anything like that. I was never around it. I never had anybody um, My dad did not have it in the house. It was not talked about in our home at all. So yeah, I did. Um, when I was at home, I would look. I would get on chat rooms and stuff like that, but I didn't realize until 2014 that that I had the addiction, and the addiction came from not feeling love from my mom or from my mom, which my mom loved me. Don't get me wrong, my mom was always there, and my mom always cared for me, but I was taking it as she was controlling me, and she was coming down on me. So I was trying to find love in other situations besides her loving me. So in 2014, when I heard other men talking about it and I started thinking about it, I was like, oh, that's where that came from. That's what
Mm.
that was. That's why I was drawn to looking at Playboys or going to strip clubs or um, using masturbation to kind of heal areas or make me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I realized, hey, I had an addiction to pornography, and even before me and my wife got married in 2016, yeah, I cheated on my wife before we got married, and the last straw before we called it quits, she said, if we're gonna stay together, you have to go to counseling. I was like, okay, I'll go to counseling, and I went to counseling for about 4 years, and uh, after about 4 years, the sexual addiction counselor looked at me and said, "Man, you're in celebrate recovery. You're doing all the steps you know to be doing. You do not need to come anymore. If you want to come back, you can, but you have the tools in place to help you. You're good." And that's when I knew at that point I'm still working on it, and there's still some areas I still struggle with. I mean, some areas I'm working on constantly, but looking at pornography, I haven't looked at anything pornographic in 7 years, and it's good to be able to say that and be open about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really good. Thank you for answering that one. Um, so you said you figured it out that you were addicted in recovery. What made you decide to start recovery?
That I I did not decide. My dad actually, because I had moved in with my parents when I turned age 30, went through year and a half about a year and a half to 2 years of some very dark depression. And my dad looked at me and said, "If you're going to live in my house, you were going to recovery. You were getting help." And he got me involved in Celebrate Recovery at at a at our church, and that's when I went. But if people don't understand Celebrate Recovery, what you share there, it stays there. But when my dad was one of the leaders, I would have to go back home with him. So I couldn't openly open up there because I knew my dad wouldn't talk about it because my dad's state licensed counselor. So, and he's a chaplain. So yeah, he knows not to ask questions. My dad never would, but I didn't feel comfortable talking about it. It wasn't until I went to a different celebrate recovery group away from my dad that I really was able to open up and get and find the healing and find the the root from everything and be like, okay, I really am addicted to it. I really am. I really do have an issue because I didn't think I had an issue. I was like, everybody else does it, so why not? It's just what guys do. But that's not the way to look at it. Not every guy does. And it's not healthy to do that if you're going to have a Christian life, or if you're going to be a married man
Hmm.
or the head of house. You don't need to do that.
Right.
It's gonna bring things into the house that is not. good, and it's gonna. And that's what I said when I went to recovery. I said, okay, I don't want my son or my daughter down the road to have this in the house. And I stopped it myself. I said, this stops here.
Mhm.
This is not going any further.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it because I think some people, they watch porn, they look at porn, they don't think any problems with it, and they don't realize their behavior, their actions will impact their children because
Oh yeah, yeah.
kids, they know how to figure out everything, and they're very technical nowadays. So if you're watching that stuff on the computer or whatever, they're gonna find it. They're likely gonna
Oh yeah.
find it. So
Yep.
yeah, you definitely want to set a good impression for children. The second question is, how long did it take you to reach out for help? So I think you pretty much answered that your dad was the one that
Mhm.
encouraged you.
He encouraged me to go to recovery. Now,
Okay.
with the sexual addiction, it took me it took me about, goodness, it probably took me still a couple years to realize I was struggling with it and was like, okay, I can't keep this going. I have to do this for myself. I have to do this for my relationship with my wife. Well, we were dating at the time, but I have to do this. I have to make the decision. And the counselor I went to, the very first meeting, my wife had to go with us, had to go with me because he would not take the he would not have me as a client unless the spouse was on board. Well, my wife went with us, went the first time, found out we were doing it, and found out what it was, and that's when I realized, okay, she's happy. This is what I'm going to do. Let's go for it. Uh, so it took me a couple years to finally get it in place in my head that I have to do this for myself.
Okay. All righty. What were you feeling when you first reached out? Like when you first realized that you had a problem and that you started getting help? What were your feelings around it?
I guess, man, that's hard to say. I guess sadness that I had done that, that I had went that path because, like I said, I didn't grow up with it. I didn't have it in the house. I never had it like in our house or anywhere. Just when I did it personally, it was kind of like, wow, I really did that. I really stooped that low. I guess, uh, shame for myself that I went there because I didn't grow up that way. I didn't do it. I
Hmm.
never was around it. It was just like, wow, okay, well, it's time to get help, and
Yeah.
it's time to move on. You can't stay stuck. You got to just let it go. Just let go and move on, and don't keep thinking about it. Just keep moving. Just move forward every day with it.
Yeah, I think that's great advice because I'm sure there are people who are Christian or anyone really who is addicted to pornography and they probably feel a lot of, you said you felt sadness, shame around it. And I'm sure they feel the same way. So it's good to know that, like, if you got to keep moving on and
Yeah.
keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What were your triggers when you stopped? So we can talk about triggers a little bit. I know you kind of mentioned at the beginning,
Woo.
summertime.
Yeah. Summertime is a big one. It's better now that I've been in it for so long. Summer's okay. Um, I've learned to, like, not be by myself anywhere, because I know if I'm by myself, then things will get worse. But I'll make sure I'm with people, make sure I'm with my wife, make sure I'm with other people when I do go somewhere. Um, a big a big one that most people don't think about, or I didn't realize, is stress is a trigger. If you're overworked, if you don't have if you don't have downtime, or if you keep going hard, for me, if I keep working hard, keep working hard, keep working hard, and just get burnt out, then when I get tired, then that's when Satan kind of throws something in and says, "Oh, look, look, you can do it now. Come on, one more time, just one more." Kind of like the alcoholic, just one more look, just hey, just one more look. No, for me, one more look or one more thought could be just like so further down the road, take me down that road again, that I don't want to go there.
Mhm.
I don't want one more look. And sometimes it's hard. It's when it's if you're somewhere and it's hard not to look, you kind of like crap. I shouldn't be looking, or I don't want to look that way. You kind of have to think of, what do I do? How can I redirect my vision? How can I redirect it? So it's a daily thing of, okay, what's the trigger today? And if you stay in the word, if you stay talking to people, if you keep yourself mentally busy and not get to the point where you're wanting to look, then you're fine. Or for me, I'm fine. There's days I'm like, I'm good. Nothing's pushing me away. Or if I know I have something coming up that I look forward to, then I'm like, okay, I can just make it one more day to this, or one more moment to this, and I know I can do it.
Yeah. So it sounds like the armor of God and just taking one step at a time.
Oh, that is, yes. One step at a time is the most important thing. Just one step at a time and getting through it.
Yeah. The next question is so we kind of just talked about it, but you might want to add on to it.
Yeah,
When you
yeah.
were triggered or had an urge to watch porn, what would you do to stop yourself? So you just kind of answered it. Did you have anything else to add to it?
Oh my gosh, yes, I can. The main thing, what triggers me, what I do if I get triggered or
Mhm.
something happens, I will, if it gets too bad, if I will actually, like what I've done in the past, I'll actually leave. I'll say, well, I'm gonna go run an errand, or I'm gonna go somewhere, get out in public. Don't stay by yourself, because that is the one thing that can mess up anything, is if you stay alone, or pick up a book. Right now, I've got a, a year and a half old husky puppy. She keeps me busy. So go outside, play with her. Get outside, get some fresh air. Just pick up a book or watch TV. Even if I'm watching TV, um, e- I'll turn my head and not watch TV. Or if something's on TV and I'm like, don't need to be watching that, or if then I'll turn my head, I'll leave the room. I'm like, not safe to me being here. I'm gonna leave the room, and
Mhm.
so I'll exclude myself from a situation that's not safe, because you got everybody's different, because everybody can handle every situation differently. But for me, it's pick up a book, turn on some music, change the channel. Don't watch movies that could lead to that. Um, stay off. For me, it's staying off social media. I mean, most people. I know you had a question about this, but I'll just kind of, for me, right. Another thing for me is I don't have social media.
Mhm.
I just don't, because it's not healthy. Some things are not the best thing to for me to go to.
Yeah, so that's the last question. Do you why let's yeah, let's dig into that. Why don't you have
Okay.
TikTok?
Um, I don't I don't believe I have ever, thinking on it, I don't believe I've ever shared this even on my podcast or on any podcast I've ever been on, I've ever been asked this that I can remember. I may have, but I'll just be open about it. The reason I do not have social media is my whole, how do I say this? The the whole way this whole thing started for me was because I had Facebook and I used Facebook. I was using Facebook for the totally wrong reasons. When I was before I met my wife, I would use I had wrong intentions on Facebook. I would talk to females on Facebook and have chats that I shouldn't have been having. So me and my wife had been dating maybe 2 years. I don't know, maybe a year. We hadn't been dating. We hadn't been dating too very long, and we were sitting at the old Atlanta Braves stadium, and she asked me in the Atlanta Braves stadium if I would delete my Facebook account. I was like, sure. I'll. She said you would do it sitting right here in the Atlanta Braves stadium. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I deleted my Facebook account, and I want to think it was 2013. Yeah, I think it was 2013 in the Atlanta Braves stadium. And since then, I literally stayed off of all social media until um April 7th of last year, and I got on LinkedIn, and because I was at home and I didn't know I'd heard about LinkedIn, so I got on there and just started networking with people and started sharing my story and sharing my journey and just and doing stuff like that. But I stayed off all social media because it's not safe for me. Even YouTube, even YouTube. If something pops up on YouTube, I'm like, not watching that video. Even as crazy it sounds, I do have Pinterest, but I love cooking. I love cooking, so I use Pinterest for recipes. And we're about to go on vacation in July, so I look for pins on that because we're going to St. Augustine, Florida. But even Pinterest, you have to be so careful with Pinterest because things will pop up on Pinterest. I'm like, whoops, not looking at that pin. But I do have a Pinterest account, so I guess LinkedIn and Pinterest, I have those, but it's for my mind and for my we're dealing with sexual addiction or pornography. One little thing you can see, or that I can see, could change everything. Could put me back in that spiral, and I'm like, not gonna be on it. Mm. And most people ask me like, "Do you have Facebook?" I'm like, "No, I don't." And I get some weird looks like, "You don't have Facebook?" I'm like, "Mm." And my wife says I could use her account. We could do a we could do a joint account. But even then, I'm kind of like, I don't want Facebook. I don't need it.
Right.
I don't I don't. And I tried TikTok for a little bit, and I never posted any videos. But even on that, I would be things would pop up. I'm like, this isn't what I need to be watching. I don't need that. And I tried to delete it. I tried to not follow that. But as hard as I would try to get past it or unfollow that or say no, this isn't good, it's like five more would pop up. I'm like, okay, fine, no, just no, not going there, not gonna do that. And that's why I don't, because for somebody that deals with pornography or a sexual addiction, it's just not safe for me personally. And maybe one day I'll try it again, or I'll maybe, because I am healthy. Yeah, I know my triggers. I know what's good and what's not good. I'm just like, "Mm, I don't- I'm okay."
Yeah.
I'm good.
I can understand that. Even I wasn't never addicted to porn, but as a Christian woman, I kind of wanted to like separate myself from, like on TikTok, there's a lot of inappropriate stuff. And I know that I used to be kind of into that stuff before becoming a Christian. So as a Christian, I try to separate myself from that. And I go down loopholes where I'll like see a video and then I'll click on their profile and I'll look through their stuff. And then I'll be like, what am I doing? Like, this is not something I need to be looking at. So even as someone that's not struggling, like you still end up down there. And then of course, if you look at someone's profile, then that's what comes up for TikTok, for your For
Yep.
You page. They'll keep bringing up the same kind of videos by different people. So yeah, I can see why you wouldn't want to use it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I would love to use it for the podcast to get more traction for my podcast, but I do pretty well as it is, and people I get so I haven't got any in the last couple days, but some people ask me, they're like, "Oh, we can help you. Um, what is it? We can help you get your podcast out there. We could help you, um, what's the word? Kind of help you. We could support your podcast for you." I'm like, "No, I do pretty well myself. So you know what? No,
Yeah. They
because
try to
I
get
don't.
you to pay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some do. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm good. I don't need that.
Nah,
I
you're
do. I
good.
do. I do perfectly fine without your help.
God's got you too.
Yep, God's
Yeah.
got me.
Yeah. Well, those are the rest of the questions that I had. Do you have anything you'd like to add for people that are struggling right here, right now? They're listening to this and they're like, "Wow, I don't know how to stop. I don't know what to do." Like, what would you say to them?
Um, what I would say is reach out to somebody and find somebody you can talk to, because we all have people that we can talk to in our lives. We For me, it was a pride issue. Let the pride fall and just ask for help. Just be like, "Listen, I'm struggling." And there's days there I'm involved with I have a lot of accountability partners and sponsor and celebrate recovery that I'll reach out and be like, "Listen, today's not a good day," or "I'm struggling today." But not having a good day is so far apart that I'd say out of a week, 6 days out of a week, I'm great. And I know what's going on. I know how to handle it. I can call people. So if any guys listening, I'm on LinkedIn. Find me on LinkedIn, connect with me, reach out to me and say, "Hey, I'd love to talk. Can we talk?" I'll talk to anybody about this, because I want to see I would love to see more guys be able to work through this and feel the happiness I have for saying, "Hey, I'm okay. I can get through this. I'm 7 years clean." So it's a daily thing. So that's what I
Yeah.
would want to leave.
Okay. And can you tell people what's your name on LinkedIn? How can they find you on there?
Um, Really, it's David Munford. You look for the guy with the red glasses. That's who I am. Everybody knows me by the guy with the red glasses. And if anybody wants to follow my podcast, about to here soon, hopefully, I can start releasing some new episodes. But my podcast is Seeing Red with David Munford. It's on any platform for that you can find your podcast, that you listen to podcasts. And um, little teaser about season two, I'm going to be diving into situations just like this. I'm going to take a little bit deeper dive into recovery and into people that are struggling with a little bit more, to go a little bit deeper in season two.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on my podcast. I love talking to you. You have a lot of great information and
Mm,
I know you're helping people. I think one of your episodes is still in the top 5 for my podcast. People love your episodes.
awesome. I love talking about this.
Yeah,
I love
good.
sharing with people my story and letting people understand what's going on.
Good. Good. All right. I will stay in touch with you. I'll let you know when the podcast is up.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Also,
You're breaking up a little bit.
the internet in my house is hard.
Well, that's okay because we're ending now. But I
That
just want to tell you to
better?
have a good night.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Okay. Okay.